Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome into the show. Yet another episode of Crushing Fantasy Football. I am Bryce Lockridge, your host of the show. All right, guys, we've already had Thursday Night Football. We've got 2 games on Saturday. We've got the full slate of games on Sunday. I hope you guys are still in contention to win your fantasy football championship, and I'm here to help you. I want to make sure that you guys get the right guys on the field in Week 16. So I'm going to start right here with the first player on my list, Breece Hall. Now, Breece Hall is a guy who we know thrives in the passing game. I mean, he really wouldn't have any fantasy production this year if it weren't for his involvement as a wide receiver, because he's only had 1 week where he's had over 20 carries. But you look at this matchup. My gosh, Washington gives up tons of yards against the run and the pass. He could be heavily involved as a rusher and a wide receiver in this game. The Jets could very well be playing with the lead. Who knows? Most teams are bad, but he's not going to get scripted out, right? Because, well, he is involved heavily as a pass catcher. He's one of the most targeted players on the team and is a running back. So, you look at weeks 12, 13, 14, he had 26 targets over a 3-week span until this last game where he only had 2 targets. I wouldn't make much of that. Breece Hall is probably going to explode against this game. In this game, he's got one of the best matchups on the week. And I really see Breece Hall just coming out and destroying Washington. I actually think he's going to be a top 3 overall running back on the week. Next player on my list is going to be DeAndre Swift against the Giants. Now, DeAndre Swift, it's really been an up and down tale for him. I mean, this season he's had some great games. He's had some terrible games. It's really one of those things where his production's been pretty significantly hampered by Jalen Hurts, right? Because Jalen Hurts just vultures all his rushing touchdowns. That being said, I think there's going to be a lot of touchdowns to go around in this game. I think DeAndre Swift is going to find the end zone, which we haven't seen in a couple of weeks. So it'll be good to see him get in the end zone, and I very much think that's going to happen in this game. The Eagles should run all over the Giants pretty easily. I understand that the Eagles really haven't been playing well, but it's the New York Giants, one of the worst teams in the NFL. Their defense is absolutely atrocious. The Eagles should be playing with the lead and be able to run a lot and grind clock. And you figure all those rushing touchdowns that Jalen Hurts gets, DeAndre Swift's got to get one at one point, right? So I think we're going to see touchdown regression in a positive way for DeAndre Swift in this game. I think he finds the end zone. I think he rushes easily for over 100 yards and potentially has his biggest game of the season. I really think that DeAndre Swift could potentially have his biggest game of the season against the Giants. I know that he hasn't been very good lately. It's the fantasy playoffs. You want to make sure you get the right guys on the field. You should definitely trust DeAndre Swift this week. Next player on my list is going to be Rashid Rice. Now, Rashid Rice has had 38 targets in the past 4 games. So you look at this and, this guy has become a monster in the offense. I mean, this is Pat Mahomes' guy. Right now, obviously, the Chiefs' offense hasn't been as good as we want them to be, really. I mean, they haven't really been nearly what we expected them to be this season. And it's been very much because of the fact that they haven't really found that true wide receiver one, but Rashid Rice is becoming that guy. I mean, you look at the target share over the past month, Mahomes is gravitating towards Rashid Rice. So he's becoming the wide receiver one in a Pat Mahomes-led offense. I think this offense finds it. I really do. I mean, I don't think that a Pat Mahomes-led offense can be held down for that long. I think that Kelsey is going to, get things together. I think that Rashid Rice is going to really help this team explode because they're dying for that wide receiver one. They've obviously found it. This dude's very talented. He's going to be getting in the end zone because, he's the best receiver in the Chiefs offense. So I think at this point we have to ride Rashid Rice and play him every week for the rest of the season. Next player on my list is going to be Devon Anan. Now, this dude still needs to be played. And it's very funny because, I was here 2 weeks ago, and everyone was telling me Achane was the guy over Mostert. And I was the one saying, hey, going into week 14, I was like, do not bench Raheem Mostert. He's still going to be getting at least half the carries in the backfield. And it's turned out that he's getting about 65% of the work in the backfield as far as the carries. But Achane remains heavily involved as a wide receiver. So there are multiple reasons why we need to start Achane this week against the Cowboys. Okay? 1, the Dallas Cowboys absolutely got gashed by James Cook in this past game, and they've shown some vulnerability against the run. So, if you really want to beat the Cowboys, you run the ball. The Cowboys are going to be selling out to stop Tyreek Hill if he plays. I think he's probably going to play. Got to stop Jalen Waddle, right? So we're going to put a lot of attention on stopping those wide receivers because we have to, because if you don't, you're going to lose the game automatically. This is going to leave wide open running lanes for Mostert and Achane. This is why they've been dominating all season. They've got so much speed all over the field that it's just impossible to account for everybody, and there are very few defenses that can defend this track and field offense. And, Achane, 9 targets a couple weeks ago. I think this dude's going to be heavily involved as a wide receiver in this game, especially considering Tyreek Hill is a little bit hobbled. So we might see some more targets for Achane. They might get him involved a little more as a wide receiver. Even if he only has 10 carries in this game, he could run the ball for 100 yards. We know how explosive this guy is. He's got the 4.3 40. The dude is an absolute athletic freak specimen, fast as lightning, smash matchup. You've got to play Devon Anan this week. Next and final player on my list is going to be Stefon Diggs. Now, I never thought that I would be including Stefon Diggs in a must-start video. But, it's funny. He's just been terrible for like the past 6 weeks. So, there's probably a lot of people that are thinking, hey, I'm going to have him on my bench. Going up against the Chargers, I think you have to start him. The Chargers are the third worst defense against the pass, right? So the Chargers, they can't defend the pass whatsoever. I really don't expect them to be able to stop the Bills whatsoever. And you got to think, if this team really wants to get going, if they really want a chance to win the AFC, the Josh Allen, Stefon Diggs connection has got to spark at some point, right? I mean, they're not just going to beat everyone with James Cook. They knew going into the game that the Cowboys' best quality was their pass rush. So they kind of used that against the Cowboys and said, hey, we're going to beat you with the run. And so Stefon Diggs only had 5 targets. But, if you look at the 3 games before that, he had 30 targets in 3 games. So he's been getting his typical Stefon Diggs target share. It's only a matter of time before this dude starts to explode again. We know what kind of upside we get. If you have a massive lead on your opponent and say you're playing one of those 2-week, matchups, right? And you're up by like 80 points on your opponent and you're scared of Stefon Diggs because the floor has been really bad lately. Maybe you play somebody who has a safer floor. I understand. But if you need upside, Stefon freaking Diggs needs to be in your lineup. Okay, this is a guy who could come out on any given week and be the wide receiver 1. We know what kind of ceiling he has. The floor has not been what we've wanted it this year. So if you're in a close matchup where you have a slight lead or you're only slightly behind and you feel like floor is more important than ceiling, maybe you plug somebody else in. But I just cannot leave Stefon Diggs on my bench with the kind of potential that he has. So, yeah, I'm going to be starting Stefon Diggs this week. If he has another bust week, maybe next week we reassess. But as of now, I'm still starting Stefon Diggs in fantasy football. All right. Yep. I appreciate you guys tuning in. I got a lot of people in my house right now for the holidays. That's why I'm doing the podcast in here. I'll probably be back in my studio in my living room tomorrow. So I appreciate it. Hope this video helped. Catch you later.